first to die in the Social Security that you can cover both husband and wife. Whoever dies first, the death benefit pays. But there's also a policy called a second to die. And I think it's one of the most underused policies out there. Now, second to die is when you cover two people. Could be husband and wife, could be two business partners, could be a mother, son, father, daughter. But it will only pay on the second death. So like when I said my wife and I bought a second to die $1 million policy to go to the kids, if I die first, it pays her nothing. It only pays on the second death. But because it covers two people, the cost of insurance is a lot lower. Because think about it, the odds are that you might die, but the odds aren't really high that you'll both die. So because of that, they can make the cost of term insurance, or the cost of insurance inside of there even lower. So you can get a lot more leverage. So here are some ways you can use second to die policies. Number one, to pay estate taxes. Well, look, now they've raised the estate tax limit. Does anybody know what it is? 11 million per person. So until you get to be 22 or 23 million as a couple, you don't pay any estate tax. So very few of your customers are paying estate taxes. But the reason I bring this up, how often do estate taxes change? A lot. They changed like 20 times in the last 30 years. So like just because now it's 22 million for a couple for estate tax, you get a Democrat in there, they're going to lower that baby back down. You get a Republican in there, they're going to raise it back up. You get a Democrat in there, they're going to lower that baby back down. So you just need to know, whoever's elected, that it can pay for estate taxes, all right? Simple legacy for children so parents can enjoy their retirement. That's what we did. We bought a $1 million second to die policy and paid $150,000 for that policy. How's that not a good deal? Like, for us that we want to leave our kids some money, but we want to go out and have a good retirement, it's a perfect place to leave kids money and then you can spend the rest. Legacy for special needs children. How many of you have special needs children in your book of business? Almost everybody. Well, here's the deal with special needs children. They're going to be probably okay as long as mom or dad is alive to help. But when mom and dad die, that's when the problem is. So you buy a second to die that then can provide money to take care of the special needs child when they're both gone. College funding for grandchildren. It's a great place. Because the cost of insurance is cheaper, the cash value can build quicker. So like even for your own policy, like if you wanted to build a lot of money inside of a life insurance policy, you can build a lot more faster cash value in a second to die than a first to die because the cost of insurance is cheaper. Transfer a farm or business to children equitably, equal versus equitable. Remember the case where and I'm going to give you that case in a little while, where the farmer's son was going to take over the farm, and the daughter was entitled to half the farm, but she's a school teacher, didn't want to have anything to do with the farm. So what you do is you buy life insurance to go to the daughter. Now she gets cash, which she would rather have than a farm anyway, and then the son can get the farm. So you don't treat them equally, but you treat them fairly. She gets the cash, he gets a farm. Charitable giving. Again, because the cost of insurance is lower, you can get more leverage to go to the charity. You want to leave even more money to charity? Buy a second to die to go to the charity. You can get even more leverage than if you just buy a policy. The other thing is, many times a second to die contract can be issued even if one of them is uninsurable. So let's say you got a case where the husband has had 2 heart attacks. He can't buy life insurance, but the wife is healthy. Did you know you can write a second to die and the husband and wife, State Farm will probably issue that contract, even if the husband's had 2 heart attacks, because they're going to go on the life of the healthiest person anyway when they underwrite it, okay?
Yep.
So just remember this. This is stuff you're not picking up on just normal training sessions, okay? We're trying to give you some stuff that you don't get from every place. Any questions on that? Second to die, 1% solution.
Doesn't it pays double if they die? They both die.
Second to die pays double. That depends on the contract. That might be State Farm's way of doing it.
So State Farm,
Yeah.
if they were to both die in like a car accident or a plane crash or something, then it paid the death benefits doubled.
So that's a huge potential
So that
benefit.
could be a great opportunity for you guys with, I mean, not the car accident. No, but people that, a spouse that's uninsurable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's your option too, right?
Now, I don't know how many of you know Marv Feldman, but Marv Feldman's dad was a guy by the name of Ben Feldman. And hopefully you've heard of Ben Feldman. He's the best life insurance salesman in the history of the world. Well, Marv is his son, previous president of MDRT. Marv wrote a book called Man on a Mission. It's one of the few books that I carry on my website other than mine, okay? So like I've got this book available on my website. I have some of these books here today. The reason I love this book is it is full of life insurance questions. I think there's probably 20 pages of questions in it. Like questions, like if you want to know questions to ask, this book is loaded with questions. It's also loaded with the secrets of the Feldman family. Now this family has sold more life insurance than any other family on this planet, okay? And he puts a lot of great stuff in here. I don't get to discount this book because we sell it for whatever Marv tells us, and this goes for $25. It goes for $25 on Amazon. It goes for $25 on my website. If you want to pick one up, I'll have it at the break for $25, okay? But I mean, you can look at it. It is loaded with great questions. But here's some of the things that Marv tells about some of their secrets for selling life insurance. Understand your prospects to the core. Who are they? What makes them tick? The reason they sell more life insurance, they ask more questions than anybody else. They ask all the questions of their clients. We create money for the customer where none existed before. You've got clients who are poor, show them how you can create money for their family. You're poor, you need to use leverage. That's what wealthy people do. They use leverage to create money. I can turn pennies into dollars. At what point is that not a good deal? That's a great deal for your poorest clients too. We are intelligence gatherers. I spent 22 and a half years in military intelligence. You know, they teach you how to ask questions. They teach you how to not just interrogate people, but to elicit information. And by just asking questions, you can literally get them to tell you everything that they need and want. There are two emotions, fear and greed. When you're sitting down with that customer, you need to find out, are they motivated by fear or are they motivated by greed? And just a few questions, you'll figure it out. Oh man, this stock market's gonna crash. Let me tell you what Trump's doing to this economy is gonna, if they're that kind of person, what are they motivated by? Fear. They're motivated by fear. But if you say, oh, my broker just made me 50%, oh man, my Boeing stock's been through the ceiling and all this stuff, oh, this market's so great, what are they motivated by? Greed. People are motivated by either fear or greed. And so if they're motivated by greed, you want to focus on the cash value in that policy. Hey, let me show you how, people would say, what do you do for a living, Tom? I'd say, I create multimillionaires. How many million do you want? You tell me how many million you want, and by what age, I'll tell you exactly what you have to do to get there. You can show people that you can get them $1 million of cash value by age 65, and it'll tell you right in the policy how much money a month they have to put in there to have $1 million of cash. Oh, you want $5 million? I'll show you what you got to do. You tell me how many million you want, I'll put it in there. I'll show you exactly. So people who are motivated by greed, they want money, they want cash value. So show them the cash and the cash value. People who are motivated by fear, you show them the guarantees in this product. This is guaranteed that no matter what the market does, no matter who the president, no matter what, this is going to be there. So you kind of got to understand that. You must understand the psychology of the sale, not just the product. Now, I can't get into psychonomics and the psychology of the sale, but I will tell you this. I've added to my normal presentation, my retirement presentation, a part on psychonomics. And I do it this way. Your customers have received something from their company every 2 weeks for their entire working career. What did they get from their company every 2 weeks? They were happy when it came, but it came every 2 weeks for their entire work. What was it called? Paycheck. And what do they do with most of their paycheck? Not all of it, but most of it, what do they do? They spent it. They paid for their car, they paid for their house, they paid for their insurance. They got and spent their paycheck their entire working career, and they had no problem doing that. When was the last time they raided their 401k or their brokerage account or called up their bank and took a big bunch of money out of the bank account? Oh, we can't do that. We got to grow it. We got to protect it. We got to save it. We can't touch it. We got to grow it. We got to protect it. We can't touch it. Well, look, you do that for 45 years. You honestly think you're going to wake up on your 65th birthday and say, by golly, I'm going to blow my 401k today? People can't do that. People can't spend their assets. You know why? Because they've been programmed for 45 years not to touch them. And most of your customers are going to go to their graves not touching their assets. Oh, we can't touch it. We can't do it. We can't. That's why what we've got to do is use our products to show them that they're not getting any younger. They don't get to take it with them. Why don't you buy life insurance to go to your kids? And then why don't you buy income annuities to pay you income for the rest of your life? And so we've got products that can allow them to live a happier and more successful retirement, but we've got to show them the psychology. It's not just economics, it's psychonomics.
I'm thinking about she's kind of an odd kind of a woman.
Use your microphone.
Kind of an odd kind of a woman. And she's got a son,
that is in his 50s. She's afraid to take care of herself because she wants to have money for him. I think she's got money. She just won't admit that she has money. But, you know, I'm almost thinking that she would be a good person to sit down and say, take out a life insurance policy on even the money you would want him to have, which she would never spend that every month. And when she dies, he'd be a multimillionaire,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I'm just thinking about her. She's
Another thing I did with cases like that, Ann, where there's a widow and they have one or two children, let's say they have one child, I would do a joint life annuity with mom and the son. So now mom gets a check for the rest of her life. When she dies, her son gets a check for the rest of his life. So see, she can spend every one of those checks for the rest of her life because she's leaving him an income for the rest of his life. And so you could do a joint life SPIA on mom and the son in a case like that, and maybe a combination with some life insurance too. But what I'm saying is most people are living a suboptimal life. They don't know it. They don't know that you have these tools. And so instead they're just, I can't touch my money. Oh, I can't touch it. I can't touch it. I can't touch it. And they go to their graves never enjoying their retirements. And then they leave their kids a bunch of money that kids go blow anyway. And so sometimes, and here's another thing I say, you don't want to leave money to kids that are bad with money. Think about that. You want to leave paychecks to those kids that are bad with money. You don't want to leave them money. And so that's where that joint life income comes in, where they can get a paycheck for the rest of their life. And if you know anything about your customers' kids, they got 3 kids, 2 of them are good with money, 1 of them's terrible with money. So the 2 that are good with money, you could leave them a death benefit. They're going to be okay, they're going to manage it properly. But the one that's bad with money, you don't want to leave them money. You want to leave them a paycheck every month for the rest of their life, that they get a paycheck, because that's all they are. They're paycheck people. There's some people that are just paycheck people. That's all they are. They live paycheck to paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. When I was in the Army, many of the soldiers were paycheck people. They they got their paycheck and they'd go down to the Ville at night with the ladies for a few nights, and then they're out of money. Then they got to work. Then they get their paycheck, and then they go out party again, and then they're out of money. And that's the way. Some people are just that way. But you don't want to leave those kind of people money. You want to leave them paychecks. The products are the solutions to the problems, but you first must disturb the prospect to see the depth of the problem. So if you're making a presentation, they're not buying life insurance, you have not shown them the problem. You've got to poke around. You know, it's like, have you ever gone to the doctor and they you know, if you got a pain, they said, does this hurt? No. Does this hurt? No. Does it? Oh! And then what does he do? How about this? How about, oh! They poke around. See, your job is to poke around. You're supposed to poke. And then when you find their soft spot, then you keep poking, okay? So you've got to disturb them. If they're not disturbed, they're not going to buy. If you have not shown them they got a problem, they're not going to solve the problem because they don't think they have a problem. You've got to disturb them.
Question?
They just wanted to see that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me talk to you about your 10-pay whole life. Let me tell you why people don't like whole life. You want to know why people don't like whole life? Because they think they got to pay for their whole life. That's why they don't like whole life. They don't want to get stuck in, I got to pay this for my whole life. I mean, the premiums are higher. I'm stuck paying like $3,000 a year for my whole life. They don't like to pay for their whole life. So why are we running whole life policies showing them that they got to pay for their whole life? Show them a 10-pay, show them a 15-pay, show them a limited pay policy. In fact, let me tell you what, this is how I got in this business. You want to know how I got in this business? I was a company commander at Fort Ord, California in the 7th Infantry Division Light. There was a MetLife agent going through my unit selling my soldiers whole life insurance. Well, at the time, I was a buy term and invest the difference guy. So I said, who is this guy ripping off my soldiers? Bring him to me. Because when you're a company commander, you can say that. Bring him to me. And they said, well, sir, he needs your birthday. I said, what do you need my birthday for? Give my birthday, but I want to see him. Well, the next day he comes in. And I said, so I hear you're ripping off my soldiers, trying to sell them this rip-off whole life stuff. And he goes, no, sir, I'm protecting your soldiers. I'm helping them save for their children's college education and for their retirement. I said, I don't believe in any of that stuff. I'm a buy-term, invest the difference guy. And he said, well, sir, I took the liberty, got your birthday, and I ran an illustration for you. Well, this happened to be, at MetLife, they had a 5-year pay policy. This was before the MEC thing. So that tells you how old I am. But this was before the 7-pay test for MEC. You could have a 5-pay policy. I said, let me see this piece of crap. And I looked at it and I said, okay, so I pay this for 5 years. And then what's my cash value? Oh, wow, after 5 years, I got basically all my money back. So it didn't cost me anything. And then the death benefit keeps growing. The cash value keeps growing. I'm looking at this. I said, why would anybody buy term insurance when you can buy one of these? He said, I don't sell any term insurance, I sell this. I said, you get paid to sell this? He said, I get paid a lot to sell this. I said, I can sell that. That's how I got in the business. I didn't even know there was a 10-pay policy out there. I had no idea there was a 5 or a 10 or 15-pay policy. And what I'm telling you is this, people who are good with money, so your entrepreneurs, your business owners, your accountants, people who are good with money, if you show them this, they will buy it. They won't buy term anymore. Anybody who knows anything about money and business and entrepreneurship, you show them one of these, they're gonna buy that. They're not gonna buy term after you show them this. So let me show you. I ran a 55-year-old male, 10-pay whole life, $1 million, annual premium of $57,000 a year. Now you say, oh, who's gonna pay $57,000 a year? A lot of people will pay $57,000. Mine's over $200,000 a year that I pay for my premium because it's not a cost. What I want you to know is if you had $20 in this pocket, there you go, 20 bucks. If I take $20 out of this pocket and I put it over in this pocket, how much did I spend?
Nothing.
Nothing. I took 20 out of this pocket, I put 20 in this pocket. How much did it cost me? Nothing.
Nothing.
That's what I'm telling you, a 10-pay whole life is the same thing. Okay, so I'm putting $57,000 a year into this thing, right? What is the total amount of money that I put in there? Total amount of money was $573,000. How much is the cash value after 10 years? I put in 573. What's the cash value?
581.
581. What did that cost me over 10 years?
Nothing.
I got paid to have it. Look at what the death benefit is. It's over $1 million. Then keep following it. Boom, 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 boom. Look at the death benefit. It keeps growing. So my cash value now goes over $1 million. The death benefit goes over $1 million. Why would we not want something like that? Look at the premium stop. I pay 0.0000000. My cash value keeps growing. Boom, 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 boom. My death benefit. Boom, 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 boom. And then I get some agents say, yeah, but what about the guaranteed cash value? Okay, if State Farm never paid a dividend again, and they always have, but if they never paid another dividend, I've still got $552,000. And look at that column keeps growing. That column keeps growing. So why would I ever buy a term policy when I can put money into this? Look at all the money I can take out if I need it. I'm a business owner. My business runs into some tough times. Guess what? I got a lot of money. I can take money out of there. Here's what I found with team members and whole life. Team members think that this is the cost of insurance for a whole life policy. This is not the cost of insurance for a whole life. This is the amount of money that you are legally allowed to put in for that amount of life insurance. You are legally allowed to put in that amount. It is a government mandated thing, okay, that you're allowed to put that much. That is not the cost of the insurance. What is the cost of the insurance? I put in 573, it's worth 581. It didn't cost me anything. Oh, you can say, oh, I could have earned more money in the stock market. Maybe, and maybe not. But look at this is all guaranteed. These are guaranteed policies. So anyway, I'm a big believer in this 10-pay. Now I ran one for a woman, 40-year-old female, $1 million. Her premium is less. Why is her premium less than mine? She's younger and she's a woman. It's based on age, and women are cheaper than men. Why? Because women live longer than men, okay? But look, this woman gets to put in $29,000 a year if she wants. So she's put in a total of $292,000. What's her cash? $331. She got paid way more than I did over 10 years to have the policy there. So what I want you to do is just think of this 10-pay as different, and show this to people who know money. Show this to your best customers, your most reliable customers, your business owners, your people who they're motivated by money and they know how money works. They will buy a 10-pay policy. These are great for grandchildren. These are great for children. Set it up so that the cash value equals $1 million when they turn age 65, or $500,000, and show them, because grandparents would like to do this, but they don't want to pay for their whole life. Look at no premiums. No more premiums, no more, they're done. All of you should get a 10-pay whole life.
Yeah, and you
I'm
only have
telling you,
until
you
the
would
end
love
of
it.
But they only have until the end of the year, so it's like
Yeah.
a special. I mean, you guys need to be focused on that puppy.
Because then it's going to 15-pay, right? Then
Yeah.
you can only have. All right, any questions on that? Because I covered a lot of stuff there. Any questions? Did that make sense to you?
Yeah.
What objections do you have? Oh, that was a bunch of bullcrap. What do you got? You got any objections on that? I'm just telling you, your best customers will love a 10-pay whole life. Just show it to them. Now, here's another trick that I did when I was an agent. I had a book, that I would carry with me. I did most of my appointments outside of the office. I carried a book with me, and it had age 25, 35, 45, 55, 65. I had term, I had variable life, and I had whole life, both full pay and 10 pay. And I just carried this book with me. That way I didn't have to run illustrations for every single person I sat down with. If they're 28 years of age, I'm going to show them a 25-year-old and a 35-year-old, and I'm going to say, you're going to be between here, but just so I know which kind of policy fits you best. Do you like term, where you think it's cheap but it costs a lot over time and you got nothing? Or would you like a universal life type policy that's a little more flexible? Or do you like this whole life policy that it's all guaranteed? Which fits your personality best? And most people say, I like that one. Good, then I'll run you an illustration for that one. But it saved me a lot of time because I could just carry this book with 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, and I didn't have to run individual illustrations for every single appointment. All right, let's cover some sales ideas and then we'll take another break. One of the things that I'm going to advise you to do by the end here is to sign up for my newsletter. It is free. If you go to tomhegna.com, you can sign up for my newsletter. It's free. One of my newsletters that I wrote, oh, by the way, about a year ago, the American College, the American College is where you get your CLU, CHFC. They listed me as one of the 11 people in the world you should follow for retirement income, all right? Well, little did I know that Forbes magazine signed up for my newsletter. And I came out with this newsletter, the 60-40 portfolio is dead, long live life insurance and annuities. I got a call the next day from Forbes magazine. And they said, Tom, we subscribe to your newsletter and we would like to put this in Forbes magazine. Will you let us? I said, yes, I will. And so they put that in Forbes magazine. And if you don't believe me, you can Google Tom Hegna Forbes magazine life insurance, and this thing will pop up. But anyway, I wrote this, and what I was saying there is that your average customer, whether they're invested with you or with a broker, they're invested basically in a 60% stock, 40% bond portfolio. And my point in this article is that the 40% bond side is dead. Why? Because bonds are only earning 1, 2, or 3% to the upside. But what happens to the value of bonds? If interest rates go up, what happens to the value of bonds? They go down. So bonds could fall 20, 30, 40, 50%. So they're paying almost nothing to the upside. They have huge interest rate risk to the downside. So what's the solution? Well, what I said is the solution is, instead of putting 40% of your money in bonds, if for younger people, 55 and below, put that 40% into a permanent life insurance policy. What does a State Farm life insurance policy pay? 3 to 6%. What does a bond fund typically earned over the past 30 years? 3 to 6%. But if interest rates go up, what happens to the value of State Farm whole life policies? They go up. So they don't go down. So what I'm saying is that you get a bond-like performance without the bond risk of the interest rate risk. For your older customers, let's say 60 and above, put a SPIA into there where they get a AAA rated bond with a CCC rated yield with 0 standard deviation. So all I did is, this was one of my newsletters and it got picked up by Forbes magazine. Even your most sophisticated investors could put life insurance in their portfolio as a bond substitute. Back in 2008, when the market was crashing the last time, I got a call from the American College, same place to get your CLU station, and they said, Tom, we would like you to write an article on why people would buy life insurance in terrible markets like these. You know what I did? I wrote an article on why people buy life insurance in terrible markets like these. I said there's always 3 reasons why people will buy life insurance. I said, number 1, life insurance is a women's issue. Life insurance is not a man's issue. Life insurance is a women's issue. Now, what was I talking about? Well, if you look at the average baby boomers out there, 70% of all baby boomer women are going to become widows. And because they live longer than men, and they typically marry men who are older than themselves, ladies, you can look forward to a widowhood of 15, 20, 25 years. So women, here's the deal. You are going to live with the consequences, good or bad, of how much life insurance is on your spouse. Now, am I saying it's not important for women to own life insurance? I'm not saying that. Let me give you some women and life insurance statistics. Number 1, 50% of women own 0 life insurance. At the same time that now 50% of women are the breadwinners of their home. So let me make it clear. Women need a lot more life insurance. My point here is that 70% of the time, women are the beneficiaries of life insurance. We already talked about how underinsured everybody is. Men and women are both way underinsured. But my point is, who is going to pay the price for the underinsurance of men in this country? It's gonna be the women that pay the price for the underinsurance of men. So, because women live longer, this is a huge women's issue. Number one, women need a lot more life insurance. You should be talking to all the women in your book of business, they need more life insurance. But number two, you need to make sure that their spouses have more life insurance because it's highly likely they're gonna outlive their spouse. Number two, life insurance is a tax issue. Here's a history of the U.S. marginal tax rate in this country. You can see it's been very stable over the years. Look at all the years that it was over 70%. That was mainly all the time your parents were alive. The marginal tax rate in this country was over 70%. The whole Eisenhower administration, it was over 90%. Think about that. You make $1 million, good. You can keep 100,000. Send 900,000 to Uncle Sugar because Uncle Sugar can do a better job with it than you can. Think about that. That was the marginal tax rate back then. Where are we now? We're down here somewhere in the 30% range, 30, 39, 37%, depending on. I don't have time to do my full economic commentary, but did you realize that our country is now $21 trillion in debt? Do you understand that we have $125 trillion of unfunded obligations for Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare? This should be a national crisis. You know why it's not? Because most of your customers don't know what $1 trillion is. I mean, it rhymes with million. It rhymes with billion. I guess it's just another illion. No, it's very different. So let me try to explain what $1 trillion is. If $1 equals 1 second, you got it? $1 equals 1 second. $1 million equals 11.5 days. $1 billion equals 32 years. $1 trillion equals 32,000 years. 32,000 years at $1 equals 1 second, and we are 21 trillion in the hole, climbing at 2 to 3 billion every single morning with $125 trillion of unfunded obligations. So let me ask you a question. Where do you think taxes are going from here? They're going to go up. They have to. See, I say this, we don't need any more Republican Party, we don't need any more Democrat Party. What we need is a math party. We need a party that can add and subtract, because these two parties cannot add and subtract. I will tell you this, because let me tell you what, these taxes, Trump cut taxes, great, I'm happy, but I'm telling you, whoever gets elected, I don't care if it's a Republican or Democrat, taxes are going up from here, because it's just math. It is simply math. You got 78 million baby boomers that are retiring. They're going to be taking their Social Security, their Medicaid, taxes are going up. So now let me ask you a question. When did IRAs and 401ks start? Does anybody remember? IRAs and 401ks started back when taxes were higher. And it made perfect sense to take money out of your check when you would have paid tax up here, and you don't have to pay tax. You defer that baby until you retire and take it out when taxes are down here. It made perfect sense. We all did it. But let me ask you a question. How much sense does it make to take money out of your check down here and take a deduction and defer that baby so when taxes go back up here, you're going to take it out and pay tax? That doesn't make any sense. So here's a conversation I would have with my customers. I would talk to them about tax diversification. See, if there was a tax perfect plan, it would look like this. You get a tax deductible contribution, it would grow tax deferred, and you get to take it out tax free. That would be tax perfect. In this country, you can't have tax perfect. You can pick 1 and 2, or you can pick 2 and 3. You know what most of your customers pick? 1 and 2. That's your IRA, your 401k, your profit sharing. They get a tax deduction and gross tax deferred, but when they take the money out, what happens? Bam, they get hit by taxes. Doesn't it make some amount of sense to put some of your money over here where you get tax-free withdrawals? You don't get a tax deduction, but a gross tax deferred, you get it out tax-free. That's your Roth IRA and cash value life insurance. I've been on this planet now for over 50 years, so I've seen a few things, and here's what I've seen. One party gets elected, they raise taxes. The other party gets elected, they cut taxes. One party gets elected, they raise taxes. The next party gets elected, they cut taxes. Anybody else seen the same thing? So wouldn't it make some amount of sense that no matter which party is in power, you would have a bucket of money to pull tax out? So if you get into a party where they cut the taxes, you could take money out of your IRA and 401k. But if you get a party that raises taxes, you could take money out of your cash value life insurance or Roth IRA. All I'm saying is that doesn't it make some amount of sense to be tax diversified? Because see, most of your clients right now have all their money in IRAs and 401ks. Well, guess where the government's going to go to get this money that they're short? They're going to go to where the money is. Where's the money? In IRAs and 401ks. The government is going to take much of your IRA and 401k that you think you're saving for your retirement. It's not going to be there. They're going to take it in taxes. So doesn't it make some amount of sense to put some money over here in the tax-free bucket? So here's some words and language I would use with my customers. I would ask my customer, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, does your company have a 401k? Yes. Do they have a match? Yes. How does the match work? Well, if I put in 4%, they match 4%. Okay, I would do that. That's 100% of my money, I would do that. But anything above the match, let's put that in this 10-pay whole life policy. Let's start building you up some tax-free income in retirement, because you don't want to have all your money sitting in that pre-tax bucket, because the government's going to come there and take your money. Because remember, governments have no money. Everybody says, oh, the government should do it. The government doesn't have any money. Government makes zero money. They have no money. The only way they get money is to take it out of your pocket to put it into your pocket. That's all they do. They take money out of somebody else's pocket and put it in somebody else's pocket. So they're going to take money out of your 401k and they're going to give it to somebody else. That's what governments do. They take money out of one place to give it to somebody else. And they're going to take money out of your customers' 401ks to give it to somebody else. And it just makes some amount of sense to have after-tax dollars available tax-free. And the last thing, life insurance is a wealth transfer issue, and this is the farm case. So let me introduce you to Mr. and Mrs. Farmer. Mr. and Mrs. Farmer, ages 60 and 61, own 500 acres, valued at $8,000 an acre. They're going to be retiring soon. Their son, John Jr., is actively engaged in farming. He's going to take over the entire operation. Their daughter, Sally Smith, is a school teacher in Chicago. She has no interest in farming, but she's going to receive half the land when her parents pass away. To successfully grow the farming operation, John Jr. needs the whole 500 acres. So right now, John Jr. will inherit 250 acres at $8,000 an acre, $2 million. His sister will inherit 250 acres, $8,000 acre, $2 million. But he needs a whole 500 acres to make it go. So he's got three options. Number one, if he's got $2 million in his pocket, he can hand it over to his sister and buy the land. How many kids have $2 million in their pocket? So number two, he can go down to Mr. and Mrs. Banker, take out a loan, a $2 million loan at 6.5% interest over 15 years. It'll cost him $3.1 million. He'll have to pay $12,700 an acre. Or he can come to you and buy a second to die life insurance policy on mom and dad. And the most that he will ever have to pay is $2,800 an acre. So he can pay cash at $8,000 an acre, he can take a loan, $12,000 an acre, or he can do life insurance at $2,800 an acre. Now, I did this showing a farming situation. What about your business owners? They own restaurants, they own bowling alleys, they own whatever they own, and they got kids. Use life insurance to go to the kid that's not in the business, so that you can treat them fairly, but not equally. Any questions on this? All right, let me go on one more. The 9 circles presentation. Now, the first time I did this, Ann said, oh, this is too confusing because it's 9 circles. So let me try to make it simple. It's not really 9 circles. It's 3 circles times 3 situations. So it's the same 3 circles, but we're going to do 3 scenarios, okay? So it sounds complicated. I'll try not to make it complicated. Here's the deal. When you die, everything you own is going to go one of 3 places. It's going to go to your family and friends, or it's going to go to charity, or it's going to go to the IRS. So this is a simple thing. You can draw 3 circles and tell your customer when you die, everything you own is going to go one of 3 places. Family and friends, charity, IRS. The question is, how much do you want of your stuff to go to these 3 buckets? Did you know most of your customers are going to leave the IRS more money than they're going to leave their daughter? Let me show you. So here's a typical case that you have. You got a family where, you know, the family's got $500,000 sitting in a 401k. They got 3 kids, all right? Well, when they die, guess what? The government's going to get $140,000 of the $500 because it's taxable. So the government gets $140,000. The 3 kids get $360,000. That's $120,000 apiece. So son gets $120,000. Son number 2 gets $120,000, and their favorite daughter gets $120,000. And you just look at them and say, did you really want to leave the IRS more than your beautiful little daughter? Because that's what you got it set up for. So what's the solution? Well, there's a couple. Number one, you could take a little bit of this money here in the 401k and you could buy a life insurance policy. So let's say they took a little money, $60,000 out of their 401k, bought a $500,000 life insurance policy. Well, if they do that, the kids are going to get $316,000. Why is that less? Because they took some money out to buy life insurance. So the 401k is a little smaller, but then they get $500,000 of tax-free money from the life insurance policy. The charity still gets 0, and the IRS gets $123,000. Now, the question is, can we find out how to stiff the IRS? Is there a way we could just leave the IRS nothing? Because that's what most of your customers would like. Well, here's how you do it. What you do is you take the money out of the 401k to buy the life insurance policy. You have the life insurance policy go to the family. That goes tax-free to the family. You donate the rest of the 401k to charity. So now your family gets $500,000 tax-free, the charity gets $440,000 tax-free, and the IRS gets zero. That's the 9 circles presentation. Most of your clients are going to be right here, and the government's going to get too much, and all I'm saying is, why don't you show them a couple other options, all right?
I like it.
You go back.
Go back.
Yeah.
What questions you have about this? It's not,
What questions you have? I see kind of people calculating a bit. Corey, do you have a question, honey? You're good? Yes.
I'm sorry, I had a question about the one before this, or
Yes.
as the second to die benefit for business owners. How do you go about that?
Well, it depends on what they need, like how many owners are
I have a
there?
situation.
Yeah, okay.
So, is 2 brothers, mom is the owner, but she just gets some money, she doesn't run it. Son and, brothers, they run the business, they both have small kids. And how will you go about insuring them, their families, if they pass?
Yeah, so in that case, I might not use a second die. I might do a cross purchase where this brother owns life insurance and this brother owns life insurance on that brother. That if one of them were to die, the money would be there to pay off the family so that the brother who's taken over could take over the business. And that the purpose would be to buy out the spouse of the brother so that he doesn't have, it's called a buy-sell agreement. That would probably be better in that situation than a second to die, because a second to die, if they both died, if their concern is if they both die, that something happens, then they could buy a second to die. But normally, they want to do a cross-purchase type buy-sell agreement. All right, now, I already talked about this book a little bit, but let me just tell you, this is an interesting book because there's 14 people in here. There's a State Farm agent in here too, by the way, which we had to get through compliance. Dave Christie is in this book, and he said something that came from that table back there, and that he has never lost a PNC client that had a lifetime income annuity or a life insurance policy. So he sells life insurance and lifetime income to solidify the clients, and they keep the clients on board. But there's some powerful people in here, and I just want to tell you a little story about this John Homer. John Homer is up in Utah, and he only works with very wealthy people. He finds somebody who's worth $25 million. And you know what? No, he finds somebody who's worth $50 million. Do you know what he does? He takes $25 million of the $50 million, and he buys a life-only SPIA, a lifetime income annuity, life only. You know why he buys life only? Because when they die, $25 million is out of the estate. Zero estate tax on $25 million because it's gone. Now, is the family going to be okay if $25 million is gone? Yes, because that SPIA was paying the premiums on a $50 million life insurance policy in an irrevocable life insurance trust. So they get $25 million out of the estate, and they build $50 million outside of the estate, and he does it over and over. Now, you're not going to know how to do that, but here's the nice thing about State Farm. You don't have to know how to do that. What you have to know is the phone number to your estate planning team, your advanced sales team, that team, they can do that for you. So if you've got a very wealthy person, what you can do is just set up an appointment with them and your advanced planning team, and they'll come in and literally do that. But I just want you to know those are some of the tools and techniques that are available. I will also tell you this. This book is also loaded with questions, powerful questions, because what I did with this book is I went around and I found those 14 top producers. Each chapter is their story. What do they say? What are their questions? How do they explain it? And that book is loaded up with all kinds of questions as well. Here's some simple sales idea. Number one, remind yourself that selling is a numbers game. SW, SW, SWN. Some will, some won't, so what next? Sometimes you gotta hit the next button. What I found with State Farm is a lot of times team members and agents, they cling to this one person. Oh, they gotta do it, they need to do it. Yeah, they need to do it, but they're not gonna do it. Next. Sometimes you gotta hit the next button. if you see a lot of people, you're gonna write a lot of business, all right? Look at your clients as if they were prospects. So go back through your book of business after everything that you have learned today, and that you're gonna continue to learn because we're still going, but go back through your book of business. Who should you be talking to? Who did you not handle that appointment as well as you could have a year ago or 2 years ago? And just say, look, I was just at this meeting and I was thinking about you the whole time. We need to get back together. Examine examine the type of market you've successfully worked. Examine your product mix. Look, I'll give you an example. When I was a brand new agent,
Can we go back to 3?
yeah,
Examine the type of market you successfully worked.
yeah.
Give some examples of that.
Okay, so I was just getting there. So when I was a brand new agent, at MetLife, we had to keep a book that every time we wrote a policy, we had to write who the person was, what type of policy, how much, where did we get the lead for that. We had to keep track of all of this, okay? So I filled this book out religiously. And then about every quarter, the regional manager would come over. We'd have to hand in our books and go through our books. Well, when I got recruited by MetLife, I was a military guy, so I was going to work the military market in Phoenix. Well, when I moved to Phoenix, I also met this guy at U.S. Homes who was selling these new homes, and he sold me a house. And then he said, hey, Tom, I can get you my list of closings every month. All the people that are closing, there's about like 10 or 15 a month. And then you can write their homeowners, their auto, and they're perfect. So he started feeding me these leads. Well, then he had other buddies at other U.S. home subdivisions. And so I said, well, what about these guys? And he goes, well, they like to golf. And I said, well, I like to golf. So let me take you guys golfing. So I take these guys golfing. I take them to Suns games. I would wine and dine these guys. Every month I get like 80 or 90 hot leads of people who are closing in the next, 30 days. And I do their homeowners, I do their auto, get their 401k rollover, write life insurance. I mean, this was a big deal. So I was doing all this stuff, plus I was this military market guy. Well, the guy who's reviewing my book, he's a Hall of Famer at MetLife, and he goes, tell me about your business. I say, well, I spend about half my time in the military market, and I spend about half my time in this new home market. It's been working out really good. And he goes, well, doesn't look to me like you're writing much military business. He goes, yeah, I know, I'm Air Army, most of these guys are Air Force, it's not the same language, it's kind of taking me. He said, stop doing it, just stop the military thing. I said, no, I'm the military guy. No, he said, stop it. I said, no, this is what I'm supposed to do. Stop it, stop doing the military, do 100% new homes. And I did, and you know what happened to my production? It went right through the roof. I was doing what I thought I should be doing, the military thing, but that was not leading to any results. And I didn't see it because I was too close to it, and I'm supposed to be the military guy, so I'm trying to make that work. That wasn't working. So my point here is look at what has been working for you, not what you think you should be doing. Look what you've been doing. Where have you been getting results, and do more of that, okay? Same with your product mix. You might be selling term, but they really want to buy a 10-pay whole life, but you didn't know enough to show them that. Now go back and show people a 10-pay whole life. Show $1 million proposal to somebody each week. That'd be a great goal. Have 5 client review interviews. You need more than that. That was for like a life insurance company. Contact one over 60 prospect every day. What if you just, every day, you showed a life insurance idea to us over 60 prospect, for their grandchildren, or protecting Social Security benefits. Implement marketing strategies, joint selling, direct mail, seminars. Use these words with a prospect. Now, here's what I'd like to recommend. Look, I've got a better line, and I learned this from the Kinner brothers. Now, here's what we're going to do. Instead of, you going through your presentation saying, oh, what do you think? Don't ever do that. That's a terrible close. When you get to the end of your presentation, say, now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to send in this application. It's going to take 3 to 6 weeks, and then we're going to come. Just tell them what you're going to do and say, here's what we're going to do. Don't ask them. Tell them, here's what we're going to do. Your closing ratio will go way up if you do stuff like that, all right? Spend time with centers of influence. For me, it was that U.S. home person that sent me business. For you, it might be an attorney or an accountant or a pastor or a rabbi. I don't know who your centers of influence are, but what I would recommend is each quarter, what if you developed a new center of influence? Somebody that could send you business. Look back to the sales concept that worked for you. Do you know how many agents were really successful? Oh, me, Chairman's Circle that year. It's the best year ever. Well, why don't you look at what you were doing that year and do it again? I'm not kidding you. This is not rocket science. So many times we do stuff, it works, and then we stop doing it because we're going off on some new tangent. Go back to what was working. Go look at when you had your best month, your best quarter. What were you doing then, and do it again. and spend time with a mentor or a coach. I told you, I wouldn't be here without people like Joe Jordan and the Kinder Brothers. There were people that had a big impact on me when I was a brand new agent. They taught me stuff I had no idea about. They opened my eyes to things that I didn't know about. Find yourself some mentors. Find yourself a coach. And the last idea I've got for you right now, and then we'll do handling objections in a little while, is the cash cow story. This is a true story. I was called in on an appointment to Sterling, Colorado with a ranch that was worth $15 million. And the agent was recommending $7 million of whole life insurance. Now, I don't know how many $7 million whole life policies you sold, or $10 million, or $20 million. I've been on a lot of those appointments. They all go down the same way. Kind of looks like this. What do you mean, life insurance? No. I don't need any life insurance. Didn't do your homework before you came in here? I'm worth $15 million. In fact, I can tell you one thing. If I had one more penny to my name, the last place I ever put that penny would be life insurance. There'll be no life insurance here today. Well, that's how those appointments go. You better get used to it. I'm used to it. This is my technique. I get up. I go sit down right next to the guy. And I say, sir, I got to get on your side of the table on this one. I completely agree. You've done a great job. You're worth $15 million. You don't need any life insurance at all in the traditional sense of life insurance. What you need is a way to transfer your $15 million to your children and grandchildren in the most tax efficient manner possible. Now, if we could do that with stocks or bonds or farmland, we would. It just so happens life insurance can be transferred income and estate tax free if we set it up properly. So while I agree with you completely, you don't need any life insurance in the traditional sense, you need a wealth transfer vehicle that happens to be life insurance. Well, that works about 60% of the time. On this appointment, it worked just like this. He said, well, I don't know if you thought I was born at night, but it wasn't last night, and there's going to be no life insurance here today, and there's the doors right there. You can help yourselves right on out. And I'm not making it up. The agent opens up his bag, and he pulls out 4 plastic cows from like a kid's farm set. He set them right on the table. He said, Mr. Rancher, these are your 4 cash cows. This one represents all your land. This one represents all your buildings. This one represents all your farm equipment. And this one represents all your investments. Now, what Tom was trying to say is that if we don't do something, when you die, the IRS is going to come in here and they're going to butcher 2 of them cows and they're going to keep the meat. Now, if you were listening close to what Tom said, all Tom was saying is we ought to get down and take a little milk out of each of them there 4 cows. Now, with this bucket of milk, we're going to buy ourselves a life insurance policy. When you die, the life insurance policy is going to go to the IRS, but your family's going to keep all 4 of your cash cows. Now, one of those 2 things is going to happen. You get to pick which one. And it was like a light bulb went off in this guy's head. He said, well, heck, every rancher knows it's better give up a little milk than to butcher 2 good cows. Now, what's my point? My point is I couldn't explain estate planning to him. The attorney couldn't explain. The accountant couldn't explain. You put 4 plastic cows in front of the guy, he turns into an estate planning genius. Here's what I learned that day. Number 1, keep your message simple. Number 2, speak their language. Keep it simple. Speak their language. See, if I was working with a trucking firm, maybe I have 4 Tonka trucks on my desk, and we're going to take a little gas. I'd use 4 Tonka trucks to pay for life insurance. If I was with a real estate tycoon, maybe I have 4 apartment buildings on my desk, and we're going to take a little rent on each of the 4 apartment buildings to pay for the life insurance. Keep it simple and speak their language. So far, has this been helpful for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so now my question is this. What are you going to do with it? We're still going to have a handling objections, but I'm going to give you a couple ideas on things that you might want to do. First of all, again, I would encourage you to go to tomhegna.com, sign up for my newsletter. It is free. My most popular newsletter ever was this one. Why Ken Fisher really loves annuities, and you should too, because he's always on TV. I hate annuities, and you should too. He takes on full-page ads. I hate annuities, and he loves annuities. He's getting rich off them. But I put that on there. That got picked up by producers eSource. The 60-40 portfolios, dead, long-lived life insurance and annuities, that got picked up by Forbes magazine. The long-term care, the $1 million problem, mortality credits from a life perspective. I try to give a powerful idea that will help you every single month. And now I've got some free webinars too that you can sign up for. I've also got a lot of tools. If you go to my website, you're going to find I got books, audio books, I got DVDs. The DVDs are compliance approved here at State Farm. But let me tell you why I'm a big believer in audiobooks. When I was a brand new agent, as I said, I was recruited by MetLife, I was a company commander in the Army, I didn't know nothing about nothing about nothing. I did not stay in California, I moved to Arizona, I didn't know one person in the state of Arizona, and I knew nothing. Well, guess what? I made MDRT my first year, I led my office in production every year. Now, how do you do that if you don't know nothing about nothing about nothing? It's because every morning when I woke up, I watched VHS tapes of the Kinder Brothers. I learned their words, their language, their stories, that then became my words, my language, my stories. When I was driving around the valley selling policies, guess what I was doing? I was listening to audiobooks of the top producers in this industry. Again, I learned their words, their language, their stories, that then became my words, my language. They fast-tracked me to the top. And what I'm telling you is I can do the same for you. You're not going to get all my words, my language, my questions, my stories by coming to a meeting once or twice a year. Why does the Army have me take apart and put together my weapon 4,000 times? I think I figured it out after 6 times. Why do they have it do it 4,000 times? Because after 6 times you know it up here. After 4,000 times you know it down here. You can do it blindfolded when you're hungry, when you're tired, when you're wet, when you're cold, when you know it down here. Well, how do you get these ideas down here? Through repetition. You've got to listen to this stuff when you're driving back and forth to work, when you're in traffic, when you're working out. And that's why all of my books, audiobooks, also have an MP3 disc that you can load into all your mobile devices, all right? The other thing is, people buy these things by the case, by the way, that's paychecks and playchecks. This was a Northwestern Mutual agent, but many State Farm agents have done this. They take the DVD, which is compliance approved for you to use with customers, they put it in a bucket of popcorn with 2 Cokes and a candy, and they make movie night for their clients. They let me tell the clients why they need life insurance, annuities, and long-term care. The clients are coming in, they're buying life insurance, annuities, and long-term care. They're quoting me off the DVD. Then the agent does this. Who else should watch this? Oh, my neighbor, my buddy at work, my aunt, my sister. They get 2 or 3 or 4 referrals. They get the DVD back from the person, and they make a bucket of popcorn for these referrals. People literally buy this thing by the case. So I would encourage you to think about that, because I can make a presentation to your clients. The other thing is, I was on LinkedIn not too long ago, and it said this: pros have coaches, amateurs don't. Think about that. Pros have coaches, amateurs don't. Think about the best pro athletes you can think of. They all got coaches. How often do you think, where are we? We're in Texas. How often do you think the Dallas Cowboys train? Like once a quarter, once a year? They train every day. Sometimes they do doubles, sometimes they do triples. Why do we think in this business that we don't need to train every day and that we don't need a coach? So what I tried to do was put together a system where you could literally have training and coaching 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and I could be that trainer and coach. So I put together a system that does 3 things. Number 1, it trains. Number 2, it coaches. Number 3, it gives education to clients. So I literally put my brain online. Everything I've ever presented ever is already online. Over 10 hours of my stuff, sorted by video clips, 3 to 5 minutes. Everything I know about annuities, life insurance, long-term care, sales ideas, combination sales ideas, everything you've heard today is already online. And it's available to you 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. The second thing I did was coaching. Let's say you got an appointment coming in 10 minutes, and you get on your iPhone, you go to my website, and you go to Client Coach. A video me pops up. I say, tell me about this appointment. Is your client single or married? You click single. How old is this person? She's 72. Once you hit those 2 buttons, a video me pops up. Okay, so you're going on an appointment with a 72-year-old widow. Here's going to be her key concerns. Here's the products you're probably going to use. Here's going to be the questions you ought to ask her. Here's going to be her objections. Here's how I would handle those objections, and I coach you before you go on the appointment. The next day you got an appointment, they're 45 and it's a couple, you hit married 45 and a video me pops up, and I coach you very differently than I did the day before with a 7-year-old widow, all right? And then the last thing is client education. Who's educating your clients? Susie Orman, Dave Ramsey, Ken Fisher? Wouldn't you rather have me educating the clients? And so I've got this thing where it's part of my TV special called Retire Happy You, where you can literally rotate an unlimited number of customers. You can just say, hey, I signed you up for Tom Hagn's training. You can watch it at your leisure. But when they watch it, you get sent an email that said the Johnsons just watched the section on life insurance. The Andersons just watched the section on long-term care, so that you know where they are in the process and you can follow up. So as part of the deal with Ann and I, if you want, I've got a few sets over here where you can get all 3 of my books, all 3 of my audiobooks, the DVD and the Social Security Guide, And by the way, the Social Security Guide was part of the TV special, but it's updated for 2018. It's got all the Medicare stuff. And if you know anything about Social Security and Medicare, if you have 4 people who are paying Medicare right now, they're probably paying 4 different premiums because they've changed it that much, all right? So you can get all 3 books, all 3 audiobooks, the DVD, the Social Security Guide, normally over $300. I'll have it over there for $150, but I'll do 2 more things. Number 1, I will pay for the first month of the $97 a month. So that's a deal where you can quit whenever you want. There's no obligation. You can quit whenever you want. If you just want to try it for a month, you can have it. But I think if you used it, I mean, can you imagine if you spend 10 to 15 minutes with me every day for the next 3 or 4 months? You think you'd be any better? You think you'd be any sharper? You think you'd be able to handle those objections? We have over 100 objections on my online training coaching, 100 of them, that any objection you can think of, I've got it on there. And then the last thing that I would do is I now have cash cows. So you would get 1 cow today and then a coupon for 4 free cows that I would pay for. So if you like the cash cow idea. So during the next break, I'll be over there if anybody wants to do that. If you have an agent and you can't do it today because you don't have the agent's credit card, I have a little coupon that you can take back and you can text this happy over there and get the same deal. So with that, I think we're gonna take a break.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna come back and do objections.
Yes, yeah.